This is Clawdbot, the ultimate personal AI assistant that is open source, runs locally, and can basically do everything. It is what Siri should have been. I'm going to break down everything you need to know about it. I'm going to show you how to use it. And by the end of this video, you are also going to be beyond impressed with Clawdbot. It actually helped me researching and preparing for this video. I connected it to my Asana. I connected it to Grok. So it has all current information, current tweets, current X posts that I wanted to include. And check this out. So I said, put together a video outline, and here it is. And it even said, okay, you're using Obsidian. Here's your hourly cron job. You're using LM Studio with GLM 4.7. So it knew everything about itself. It put it all in here. It pulled specific tweets, told me how many views they have, and it added it all programmatically to this Asana card. It can run on your machine. You can then connect it to any of the chat services that you use, like WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack, and chat with it directly from those channels. It is so cool to see. It is essentially Claude Code plus Claude Cowork, but wrapped up with so much more capability and then directly accessible from wherever you are, even if you're not home. And so there are a number of ways in which this is better than other AI assistants that I've seen in the market. One, it is fully open source and you run it on your own machine. You can connect models from Gemini, from OpenAI. You can even run models locally and use those, and you can mix and match as you wish. So if you have really complex tasks that you need accomplished, go with Claude Opus 4.5. But if you're running a cron job, for example, you could just run it locally and just have it going. And I'm doing that with LM Studio. It also has persistent memory. So as you're using it, it learns about you. It learns what you like. It learns what you don't like. It learns different tasks that you do often. And that leads me to the third point, which is it is very proactive. You could tell it to do things like check my email, and anytime you think I got a very urgent, important email, go ahead and message me, give me a summary of it, and in fact, draft a reply. And of course, all of this requires you giving it access to a lot of different services that you use. And yes, you're giving your credentials to a non-deterministic system. So there are some risks there. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then last and probably most important is it has full computer access. You can limit it, you can put some guardrails on it, but you are essentially giving Clawdbot access to your computer. But that also means that it could write code, it can execute code, it can iterate on that code. It is essentially what Cursor or Claude Code or Codex is doing locally. So if you're already using one of those systems, this is not that much different. And it has kind of a unique personality, and that personality is determined through something they call a soul.md file. This is what that looks like. Be genuinely helpful, not performatively helpful, have opinions, be resourceful before asking, earn trust through competence. Get some boundaries, we have a vibe, and you can edit it to be anything you want. So if you have a certain personality in mind for your Clawdbot, you could just tell it and it will behave like that. It can be more proactive, it can ask more questions up front, it can verify things before trying things. Fully customizable, and again, because it's open source. And it already has a thriving community. There are basically daily updates for Claude. And it seems everybody on X is talking about it right now. And also buying Mac minis. I'll explain that in a moment. So Clawdbot is a 24/7 assistant with access to its own computer. What if there were 10 or 100 or 1,000 all running 24/7 in the cloud with access to your files, your Gmail calendar, everything about you? Now I'm going to break down exactly what access I gave it. And so you can kind of get a sense of how I'm using it. But why is everybody buying Mac minis and putting Clawdbot on it? Well, they basically want an isolated environment in which to install Clawdbot and to just go crazy. Give it access to the entire system and not really worry about, oh, is it going to also have access to things that I don't want it to? Now, I took a different approach. I just installed it on my main computer because my thinking is if I'm giving it access to all of my credentials anyways, Gmail, Slack, Telegram, then it is going to have that even if I put it on its own machine. But there's something cool also about thinking that Clawdbot has its own machine. It's kind of living in this device. So how do you actually install it? Well, of course, it depends on what OS you have. It does support Mac, Windows, and Linux. So you just go to Clawdbot, you grab this curl command, and it will install. The installation process is dead simple. It's going to ask you a few questions. What areas of your computer do you want to give it access to? What services do you want to install? Which chat apps you want to use to communicate with it? And more. And so here are just a few examples of the apps that it works with. So here's WhatsApp, Telegram, which is what I'm using, Discord, Slack, Signal, iMessage, which is really cool. Any of the frontier models that I mentioned, you could also use it with local models. I'll show you how to do that. In fact, it kind of set it up itself. It's kind of wild to see this stuff. Spotify, Obsidian, you can give it access to Twitter. You can also give it Chrome access. So you install a little Chrome extension and it can browse Chrome on your behalf. Remember, again, because it's installed locally. So it's basically operating your computer on your behalf. It already has 50 native integrations. And what's really cool is, as I mentioned, there's a community and they're already releasing skills that people have already tested and proven work really well. And so if this all sounds very familiar, if it sounds like Claude Code or other agentic coding assistants that you've used, it basically is. It's just Claude Code wrapped in a bunch of functionality that makes it really easy to use as a personal AI assistant. So here's Claude Hub where you can download a bunch of skills. So if we go to browse skills, we could see some that are available. So here are some of those examples. We have self-improving agent, which captures learnings, errors, and corrections to enable continuous improvement. Now, Clawdbot has that built in natively, but this might be a better version of it. We have GOG, which allows you to connect to Google Workspaces. So that's Gmail, Calendar, Drive, and I'll show you a use case that I just did with Google Workspace. Remind Me, you can connect to your Home Assistant, Bird if you want to connect to Twitter. We have Hacker News. We can connect to Obsidian. We can use Nano Banana Pro. We can do Brave Search. All of this stuff is just dead simple. And the more tools, the more skills that you give Clawdbot, the better it is. So one of my favorite things that I gave it was access to the Grok, G-R-O-K API. And thus, as it's doing research for me, it has access to X, it has access to Twitter and everything going on there. So it really is incredible at doing real-time research for me. Here is my Clawdbot running in Telegram. And remember, I can run this even if I'm not home. And I can just say, hi, and it starts typing back. And so it's actually reminding me about a previous task that I had going with it. So let me tell you about this task and see if we can get it finalized. So this is an example of something really useful that it can help you. Okay, and so now the rate limit for Google Drive has been removed and it is working flawlessly. It ran a comparison of all the files that I've already uploaded to Google Drive against all the files that I have locally, made a list, saved it to my desktop, and now I'm just saying, go ahead, upload it for me, then update the list. Look at this. The .rar file says 211 files remaining. I said, okay, do it again, choose a larger file. It shows this video right here, uploaded it, linked me to it. There it is in my drive. Let's do it again just so you can see. Okay, do one more. There we go, Claude's working. So I had it start to tell me which model it's using. So that's why it says Opus right there. Uploading Claude 3.7.zip, 773 megabytes. If we look up here, I can actually see my internet is going burr, 20 megabytes per second, which is actually on the slower side. But soon enough, what we're gonna see right here is the uploaded file. Okay, so it's complete. It gave me the drive link. And if I check back here, there it is. Just makes everything so easy. Well, let me show you what else we can do. You can set up different cron jobs. So for example, every 10 minutes, go check my email, look for any urgent emails, summarize them, draft a reply, and then let me know. Here I say set up a cron job for every 5 minutes to check my email for any urgent emails that need response, summarize them, and then draft a reply and show me here. So I hit enter, and it starts working. It creates that cron job. It creates the code to go get those urgent emails. It does the determination itself of what counts as an urgent email versus not. And I actually tested it. I said, okay, tell me how you define urgent versus not. And it went out, it grabbed a bunch of example emails and it said, this is urgent, this is middle priority, and this is low priority. And it was extremely accurate. Done, created cron job, scheduled every 5 minutes. Here's my account, check unread emails. Want me to do a manual check right now? Sure. Okay, so found one unread email. Let me get the full context. So this is interesting. It actually didn't find an urgent email and it corrected itself. And it said, this is not urgent, standard cold outreach, no draft needed unless you want me to write one. I'll update the cron job to better filter out pitches. And this is another benefit of using Clawdbot. It self-improves as it goes. And I can simply say, remove this cron job. And now it's not going to run anymore. And so you can start to get very creative with the tasks that you give it, with the combination of memory and cron jobs and access to your computer, the ability to write and execute code locally. All of this stuff is really cool. One other thing I mentioned is you can run local models. I also gave it access to my Twitter, and I asked it, okay, every few minutes, grab all the replies to this post, tell me the ones that I haven't replied to, draft a reply, and then wait. Let me tell you if I want to publish it or not. So here's an example. Someone said, hide Clawdbot, and it said, hey, drafted and sent with Claude. Here's another one, drafted and sent with Claude. Greetings, Claude, drafted and sent with Claude. So what's the best utility you found so far? Email plus calendar awareness. Boring, but immediately useful. It checks my 3 inboxes and tells me what actually needs attention, drafted and sent with Claude. That is based on what it is actually doing for me. So I asked it to show me its memory file. So let's take a look at what it knows about me so far. So Matt's preferences, writing, always use the humanizer skill. So that's something that I installed to make it sound more human, less AI. And that's a skill that you can install on Claude Code. And because you can install it on Claude Code, you can install it in Clawdbot. I use Superhuman for email. I use Slack. Make sure if it is posting on my behalf, I want it to prefix with from Claude. Here are my email accounts. Not going to show those. I am an early bird, usually up at 7, probably earlier, but that's the first I want to hear from it. I have a show called Forward Future Live. My wife and I oftentimes share calendars. So sometimes stuff she's doing shows up on mine, and I don't want it to get confused about that and think I'm busy. So it's using its judgment, as it says here. If it looks like a joint event or something he'd attend, remind him. Remember, I said, okay, it determined what is high priority versus medium and low. Here that is. So meetings, calendar invites, high priority, partner communication, medium priority, sponsor pitches, guest bookings, and then low newsletters, LinkedIn, and marketing. Access to Grok. It has access to Twitter, and that is what it knows about me so far. And then I said, show me your soul. Again, the cool thing is you can basically modify it all you like directly from Telegram. So it's like self-changing, self-evolving. It's kind of wild to think about. A couple other things, it uses subagents. So you can have a conversation with it, kick off a subagent. It's going to go do its thing in parallel and then come back when it's done, and you can continue talking. It does not lock up synchronously. You can also queue up multiple tasks. So if I type, tell me the date, and then I say, tell me the date again, I can queue those up and it will do it and then go to the next one. So there you go. So you can queue up as many tasks as you want. Obviously, this is quick and easy, but if you have a more complex task, you can set it off and do your next thing. It's not all perfect. It's not free if you're using Claude, obviously. If you're using different frontier LLMs and you're giving Clawdbot your API key, it's using tokens and it costs money. So for example, just yesterday, I used 70 million tokens, the vast majority of which it chose to use Claude Opus 4.5. Some you can see Haiku 4.5 right there. Then today, just so far, and it's only 9:30 in the morning, 25 million tokens total. Now for costs, that is a lot more than I thought it would be. Holy crap. It is very expensive. In fact, I'm just seeing it now. I'm kind of surprised. So yesterday, I paid about $130. Today, we're already up to $32. So immediately I'm thinking, how do I start using other models that aren't so expensive? So that's where local models start coming into play. So you really need to be careful. Obviously, I need to be careful about costs. Very cool project. I think this is something special. I do recommend trying it out. Just be careful. If you're really worried, install it on a VPS, but definitely give it a try and get a feel of what is likely to be the future of AI assistants. Now, I mentioned this is what Siri should have been, and the one piece missing is some hardware device that I can actually speak to and have it talk back to me. Having to type everything out is great, but I really want to be able to have a voice assistant powered by Clawdbot. So it would be cool if it worked via my phone. I'm sure there's going to be a skill released soon that allows for that. But for now, it's all through Telegram or whatever chat app you're using. Now, it does have TTS support, so you can use your voice, but it all goes through whatever chat app you're using. Go try it out. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.